Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Patreon bonus time is here. That's right. This is a special bonus for our patrons on Patreon. I'm never going to get that right. This is Kill by Kill. And
patrons.
Patrons.
Patron.
And this is a special bonus episode that we do every month. And we appreciate your patronage of us. To celebrate it, we have been provided with one of the goofiest fucking movies I've ever seen in my life. And there's only one person that I trust that if she sees me stabbing my mom, she'll like hide the knife afterwards. The one and only Gina Radcliffe. How you doing, Gina?
Well, I've taken a long shower. I particularly spent a long time washing my eyes.
Yeah, that's important.
I've had a period of quiet reflection after speaking with my spiritual advisor, and I think I'm ready to talk about Doppelgänger.
Oh, Doppelgänger. Who provided us with this incredible suggestion, Gina?
That would be Lauren Taylor, who won, air quotes, our bi-monthly drawing to pick a movie for us to watch. I don't know about you, Patrick. I have never heard of this movie before seeing this.
I know that I may have seen the opening minutes of it as like before I turned off the television when it was on HBO. But that's about as much. Like, I knew a movie starring a Drew Barrymore called Doppelgänger existed, but I had no idea what it was. And now that I've watched it, I also have no idea what it was.
Yeah, I this is going to be a corker of an episode as we try to distinguish. Just, I'm not sure the people in the movie knew what kind of movie this was.
Oh no, I can guarantee it. Hey, before we go too far though, I don't want to surprise you though, Gina. We are not alone. That's right. We have a special guest. She is a returning all-star and the only person I trust to own a home with and have a child with. The one and the only Becky Wilson. How you doing, Becky?
Hello.
Welcome back to Kill by Kill.
We needed an adult in the room to get us through this.
That's right. This is a movie so powerful.
To hold our hands and to gently wipe our brows with a cold cloth as we get a little overwhelmed by what's happening.
It is very moist in all the worst ways. This motion picture.
And I fell asleep about 45 minutes in. So,
You're fine.
But I feel like when I woke up, I didn't really miss anything.
and yet, well, you didn't, because at that point it turned into a completely different movie.
Different movie. Yes. There we go.
Yeah, this movie is lots of different movies.
None of them good. None of them good. None of them good.
I have to admit that I watched the first 10 minutes of this film and I couldn't do it. I felt weird and I felt icky. And I said, well, what is the solution to this? Bring your wife into it. That'll make it okay.
Make her feel icky too.
Yes. I felt.
Thank you.
Go ahead. It's that shared moment.
When it started and you've got her walking through New York with her ridiculous black outfit and her sunglasses with her severe bun, I at least thought, like maybe this is going to be a single white female thing, or maybe this is going to be like that Sarah Michelle Gellar show, The Ringer, where there's a secret sister, which wasn't good either, but it had a moment or two. And I thought, okay, this has something. This could be something. This could be something. And then it was not that. It was not that at all.
You weren't looking for a sex scene with cinema's Dennis Christopher?
I was not.
But who really is? I mean, do you ever turn on a movie and say, man, I hope there's a sex scene with Dennis Christopher in this?
I don't even think Dennis Christopher is looking
especially now
it.
that I've found out that she was only 17 years old doing the sex scene with him.
I don't want to be a bummer, but it has to be said. Now, a while back, Patrick and I, we were mentioned in good company with other podcasts hosted by people of a certain age, that age being in their 40s, who talk about movies from their childhood, and that we had we were pretty good about admitting that certain things didn't age well. So I really have to point out how very, very weird and unfortunate it was that for a while in the early 90s, we were kind of okay with Drew Barrymore getting naked and having, doing sex scenes with actors 10, 20, 30 years older. How old was Tom Skerritt when they did Poison Ivy? I mean, he was old enough to be her grandfather.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of like, all right, I guess that's a thing. No stand-in? Oh, okay, I guess that's art. Somebody must be okay with it. I mean, yeah, who was okay with it? Her mother.
Yes. Who makes an appearance in this motion picture.
Perhaps appropriately is the person she stabs to death at the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, to put it in perspective as to just how creepy from a modern perspective it is, she is about the same age here as some of these Stranger Things kids.
Yeah.
And she is playing a character clearly meant for an older actress. And I don't know why she was cast in this, other than it was, here's Drew Barrymore being uncomfortably sexy again. and it's just like, yeah, it's very weird that we just kind of didn't have much to say about that.
I remember because that was, she was her heyday of those movies, for not E.T. and etc. when she was little, but I was in middle school or junior high and high school. And I remember, I mean, this was of course before social media. So we weren't understanding what every star we were interested in had for breakfast, lunch, dinner, what they were wearing, how they brushed their teeth that day, etc. But I do remember she was kind of the person that everyone knew what was going on with her.
Yeah.
She was the person that was, if there was someone to follow and stalk, cameras were following her.
She released a biography as a tween.
Yeah.
A biography.
And I think we all bought into like, oh, she's trying to shake off her cutesy girly I was the girl from E.T. image. And we all, in our own teenage earnest, maybe we're like, yeah, she's just trying to grow up and be herself. But I agree when you look at it now.
It's very strange to realize that her appearing in Scream was kind of like the turnaround for when she started like just getting like normal acting jobs.
Yeah, good parts again.
Like she was not, I can't remember like any other movie after that where she played this very hypersexual young woman that like these, men who are much old enough to know better, like just chasing after her.
Yeah, this is absolutely I think it might be the peak of it. This and Poison Ivy. Put that image. She like did it. She went on Letterman. She flashed him on.
She also played, and she played Amy Fisher in a movie too, in a TV movie.
So she had a real deep red, almost a brown lipstick period.
She Miley'd before Miley.
There's never a point in this movie where she is not wearing that lipstick. Like no. Even in the shower, she clearly has a full face of makeup on, and her pearls.
The makeup drove me crazy. I brought it up constantly because I could not deal with the foundation lines and the fact that she looked like a vampire. Sometimes she'd have this white cast of foundation, and sometimes
she might have been
orange.
A vampire. I mean, this movie, why the hell not? She could have been a vampire.
That would have made.
It wouldn't have
made sense, but it would have been something.
There are at least 4 different movies going on here.
If I had asked either of you, what's that movie that Drew Barrymore's in where her makeup makes her look like Bela Lugosi? Would you have automatically thought Doppelgänger? Because you're going to now.
You will now. Yeah. I'd never.
Everyone has on the most severe face makeup.
Yes.
This is a movie.
All the gentlemen have amazing amounts of speckle.
Because this is like just a buffet of bad makeup, worse hair. The hair in this is just it's appalling. That's the only word I can think of. It is appalling.
Listen,
and then the props are crazy. Shaking tree, for example.
Oh my
shaking
God.
Tree outside
Shaking
the weekend.
tree.
Outside the window.
When she seduces, or is it her doppelganger? Who fucking cares? At the end of it, they're basically the same. I don't know. But anyways, she seduces her roommate, her dumb fuck roommate.
Oh my
Her
God.
Gutenberg-esque
Could I
roommate.
say that this guy, he was one of those people that Hollywood tried to make a thing.
Yes.
He was in Puchinsky, the TV show. He was in the failed TV version of Working Girl.
Mhm.
I want to say he was in I think he was in Adventures in Babysitting. He was like definitely tried to be a thing and just it didn't. I mean, I'm sure he's still doing stuff now. You know, probably
He was on Scandal not that long ago. He was the groom in The Father of the Bride.
Yes,
movies.
that's right. That's right.
Oh my gosh, that's him?
He's
That-
always
yes.
like
Oh.
bland. He's always bland McWhite guy, and in like every single one of these, and you're supposed to believe that these characters have this like just raw sexual chemistry that just
You
like
know.
no matter what, he's just gonna help her even though she's clearly insane. But he's so overwhelmed with attraction to her, and they're just crickets chirping, nothing.
Oh,
There's-
Crickets chirping.
It's a negative chemistry.
Trees shaking.
no, there's truth in this scene. Just outside, you see a tree shaking in what is supposed to be the Santa Ana winds.
Mhm.
But
I was
it
going to
is-
ask you guys about that. Is that really a thing?
That is really a thing.
I
It
know
is.
that there's such thing as Santa Ana winds, but is it like
Now, it's
that
not
dramatic?
a 22-year-old PA with black gloves shaking normally outside your window.
shaking up and down. This is the main problem with it. It's not so much the wind as it really does look like a PA going, like shaking it like a maraca, but not that into it.
Yeah.
That's not how wind works.
Yeah, there's been a lot of takes.
That's the other problem. There aren't
But
a lot
the
of
tree,
takes.
I felt the tree got a lot of takes. They really made
It's
sure.
in frame a lot
Made sure.
because this movie never cuts away. Unless he's in a conversation with Leslie Hope, his writing partner, and
God.
her
Oh
hair.
my God.
Holy fuck, is she in another movie? But
What is she doing with her character?
I think it's like a My Girl Friday.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say
gangster mole
it's
thing.
a Rosalind Russell wisecracking pastiche.
Yeah.
right?
Dorothy Parker. I fashioned
Yeah.
myself a 90s version. with-
like a really
horrifying.
like a really filthy mouthed Dorothy Parker.
Yes.
And that's like the fourth movie that everybody in this movie thinks they're in a different movie.
Mhm.
Like Dennis Christopher, like his character is terrible. And his performance is terrible because everybody's terrible in this. It's just sort of like Animal Farm where some are more terrible than others. But I mean, at least he knows what kind of movie he's in, and that is trash. And he treats it like trash. He's tearing off that scenery and just sticking it in his mouth and swallowing it down.
At one point, he turns his back to the camera and leans against a coffee machine and just begins a monologue away from the camera. And there's no cuts. It just goes on and on and on. There's no scene in this movie in which they thought, you know what, we could do away with these 16 sentences, but why don't we add 21? And they just keep talking and talking and talking and talking. At one point, Patrick, who's the lead guy,
the roommate. Mhm.
who barely ever takes off his hat.
You can't really call him the hero because he doesn't do anything.
No, he's terrible. He's a terrible human being on multiple levels, but we'll get into that. At one point, he pulls out a magazine from the drawer, and there's a close-up on it that says, Patrick Highsmith, collegiate fiction winner.
Mm-hmm.
And then he hands it to Drew Barrymore. He goes, once upon a time, I submitted a thing in college and I won this prestigious fiction award. We know. We have eyes. This is cinema.
Well, yes, exposition was not in short supply.
My favorite part. My two favorite parts about that scene is one, that he keeps looking at her boobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just sort of looking like mystified, like he's never seen breasts before. Just like, wow, there they are, right there, right next to me. Holy cow, I can't believe it. Boobs for the first time. And this guy's like 30. And he's just carrying on like humming in her presence. And then she picks up the magazine, she reads it for about 0.7 seconds.
Yes.
She's like, this is really good. You're very talented.
Yes. I noticed that too. You're incredibly talented.
You got that in the first paragraph, huh? Okay. Wish I could grab a reader that fast.
If this was the first time you would ever seen Drew Barrymore act, would you ever give her a role in anything else?
No.
Bad in this.
Yeah.
She did good work as a kid. And
Yeah.
just the eyes, they're dead. Just
but it makes more sense now. She was 17.
Yeah, she actually does this weird little thing where she cocks her eyebrow, and like that's how you know that she might be the bad sister.
Yeah.
I mean, is that the twin?
I think that was the tell. There was the eyebrow and how she would pick up things. So
and she
picked up a knife, or she picked up a pen in a certain way.
And she would play with her hair.
She was the doppelganger.
Which apparently drives men to fucking distraction. When she's
especially that hair.
Just fiddling with her hair.
Yeah, I mean, she's always talked out of the side of her mouth.
Yeah.
Like, that's part of her.
Yeah.
But she's figured out how to make that work for her. And this, yeah.
But yeah, she's absolutely atrocious in this. And you hate to say it, but it has to be said.
No, because I feel like there's almost no direction given. Like, the camera is turned on, and then everyone said, let's give them the room. And they walked away, and a scene just plays out. At one point, I turned to Becky and go, does this just seem like acting school scene study?
Mm-hmm.
Like, people are just working it out, but it's on camera. And then they're like, that's the take.
That's the one we'll take.
That's the one we'll take.
Yes, it was very much like when you go into an acting class and they say, you're mad at him. And you don't know why, but you have this energy. So what are you going to do with it? Oh, I'm going to scribble on a piece of paper while I talk. And that is what happens constantly throughout this movie. They give themselves business to do.
It's one step away from
terrible.
I don't know how my arms work.
It's also remarkable that a movie presumably written by a writer does not seem to have the first clue as to how the writing process works. Because you've got this character, Patrick, the hero,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got his writing partner, Ellie, who is the worst movie character I've ever encountered in my entire life.
And that's saying something.
I guess she's supposed to be comic relief, kind of, but she's also maybe in love with him, and apparently
definitely in love with him.
And apparently they had a relationship at one point, and now they're just writing partners. And they meet at a coffee shop to write together. And you know, they don't know how coming up with an idea for a script works. They just, well, these are writers. Let's have them talking about writing.
Yeah.
He's literally shown at a typewriter once.
Yes. For a writer, he does a scant amount of writing or anything else.
Mm-hmm.
He has ideas for screenplays. Many ideas for screenplays.
Yeah, at one point, he brings up the fact that he had been working on something which he described as, quote, breakfast at Tiffany's, but a horror movie. And my soul left my body.
Well, he says that, and then she's dressed.
And her name is
she
Holly.
has the black dress and she has the pearls when he says that, and she
see.
smirks. So it's like, this is Breakfast for Tiffany's in a horror movie. Wink, wink, wink. But you didn't get it.
I didn't.
It went over your head.
I didn't, because really, yes, it was over my head. You're right. There we go. Brutal honesty.
I mean, it's so. 0.1 for Doppelgänger. I'm saying.
You got me there, Doppelgänger.
Didn't know it was that fucking deep, did you? Wow. I take it back. This movie's great.
I'll tell you what's deep. And it's the bench on this motion picture, because anytime they have the chance to put extras in the frame of this movie,
yes, 10 to 15 per.
It's like
shot.
it's like someone lost a bet with central casting, and they're like, I have to put 20 people in this scene. We'll make sure they're all in this cafe, and they're all crazy looking. In that cafe, there are two gentlemen who look straight out of a Poison music video, who are having a very delicate conversation that is very outrageous.
Wait. I hate this. Forgive me for saying, I did not realize it was supposed to be dudes. I thought they were women.
Listen, let's not put gender on it. They have extraordinary hair. The blonde later turns up walking down the sidewalk with his girlfriend, looks directly into camera. No one calls cut. I mean,
okay, I remember that guy. I did not remember that was the same person in that scene.
I didn't know it was the same person either.
I went back and looked.
Point two doppelganger.
Was that the one that
what I have to
was
say.
that the one who asked about the pimp bustier? Whatever that, but that's what my closed captioning said they were talking about. So
it's entirely possible. Also in that cafe is someone looking over Patrick and Ellie as they have a conversation, feverishly writing down notes, but looking at where you would order something at the bar as if she's writing down
that's
turkey sandwich,
yes.
ham sandwich.
Well, that's the entrance, yes.
Yes.
When he's still outside and she's nonsensically eavesdropping or listening and writing everything down. And then she sees him through the window and taps her watch.
Yes.
Come in.
Oh,
we have screenplay writing to do.
But they don't ever write screenplays.
they don't.
She just insults him and then he mopes. That's basically it.
Right.
No amount of insults sort of shake him out of his comfort zone, besides the 2 times in the movie he stops wearing a hat. And that's character. That's a character moment in this movie.
Yeah, we actually haven't explained what this movie's about.
I know. I was just going to say,
How would
these
you
poor
explain
people
it?
have no plot, but it's hard when there isn't one, really.
Do you want me to attempt?
Sure.
Okay.
I think
go
you
for it.
should.
Yeah.
So, all right. So Drew Barrymore, someone. Okay, I don't know. So
This is a great start.
The movie, I'm doing great. They don't give me a lot to work with. So Drew Barrymore, before she is shown having sexual relations with her psychiatrist right at the beginning of the movie, just so you know what kind of movie this is.
Yeah.
Unless you get to thinking this might be like a classy thriller or anything like that. It's not.
No.
She goes to her mother's apartment. Luckily, her mother, just before she dies, the last act she does on Earth of charity is providing expository dialogue, which is that she is standing to inherit some sort of fortune, but they are worried that she is going to marry her psychiatrist.
Yes.
Now, this is Drew Barrymore again is 17 here. And this character is, again, clearly meant to be played by an older actress. But the interesting, and I mentioned this earlier part, is that her mother is played by her real life mother, who, apparently her relationship with Drew at certain points was so shaky that Drew moved out to live by herself when she was 14 years old. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine the method acting that went behind stabbing her to death at the beginning of the movie.
And whenever she has one of these incidents where she's twinning between the two personalities, she begins profusely bleeding from not one, both nostrils of her nose.
She's doing a double 11.
No, yeah. She's 22.
And she also gets this sort of like, when you decorate a house for Halloween, you get that fake cobwebbing.
Yes.
That kind of like grows around her fingers.
Between her fingers.
And then
she becomes the man from Atlantis all of a sudden.
She makes this sort of weird kind of murmuring noise.
Yes.
And then we don't find out till the end what that is.
She suddenly becomes a Labrador retriever. And she has webbed paws.
So she can retrieve game.
She pulls out this comically large knife And we see that knife. Did she take it on the plane with her? Because it's the same knife that she has when she's in California.
I think it's the knife's twin.
Oh, did she like absorb it back into her body or something?
0.3 doppelganger.
Well,
I mean, honestly,
I got that
deep.
one on doppelganger. I understood doppelganger.
True.
Now,
okay. Patrick won.
Patrick won.
This knife is used to murder several people. It is used to slice bread.
Comically.
It is, yeah, it's this thing has to be about 15 inches long. This is not a kitchen knife. This looks like something you would use in an abattoir to slaughter a sheep.
Yes, this is what you would use for butchering.
Late night infomercials we used to watch of the guys selling knives.
The guys selling knives. That was so wonderful. We would just tune in to some random cable channel. It would just be a guy and a static camera that he was obviously repositioning himself. And he would just be talking about all of these knives that you would get in these sets, because you wouldn't just pay $40 for this one knife when he could give you 15 useless knives
of really weird shapes and sizes.
Her rage in that scene is not connected to reality. It is like someone, if you told Oliver right now, act like you're gonna hurt somebody, and he would make that goofy face. That's what she's doing. Like, it's almost as if she has no idea how to act. It's just like they plucked her off the street. It's wild how bad she is in this movie.
Yeah, she moves to California, okay, so what did she has an other self, and either it really does exist as a separate person, or it's some sort of, it turns into the Thing at the end of the movie, which
we have to go through the endings one at a time, because the way this was sold to us was, you won't believe the ending. But there's 5 endings. There's 5 of them. Which one am I not supposed to believe?
I don't believe any of them. But she goes to California and she gets a room with this guy, Patrick, who claims that the apartment, in a very extremely labored moment of dialogue that absolutely should have ended up on the editing room floor.
Yes.
He incorrectly or lie about that the apartment had 2 bedrooms.
No, he's lying.
And then
he's lying to attract somebody to be there.
And then he says something like, "Oh, well, I write at night, but then I go out during the day," and blah, blah,
he's just
blah.
doing anything he can for her to say, yes, I'll stay
And that
here.
he only has shaving cream in the bathroom.
Right. You can have all the drawers because you're a lady.
You know, and
you need drawers.
It's a dumbstruck moron. The minute he appears on camera, she just starts acting weird from the get-go. He's all right with it because, he's a nice guy. That's what this movie really wants to emphasize. He's a nice guy. And,
he's one of the worst nice guys we've encountered in this podcast. He
looks like a bowling ball dropped on his head. So there is a scene. They have their sex scene like the second night she's there, maybe.
Yeah, something around there.
Day bleeds into night. There is no time within Doppelganger.
He wakes up in the morning, with the Rosemary's Baby-esque scratches and bites all over him, which that
covered and on a floor full of grocery store newspaper circulars.
Yeah, they fucked so hard a newspaper exploded.
And he's like, 88 cents a pound for avocados. And oh my God, I'm bleeding from my shoulder.
And he's the mildest of put out at this, that he has this human bite mark in his shoulder, like he was in a bar fight. And so he goes into her room and she's got this music box, which is somewhat of a red herring. And he's like, "Hey, I really liked last night." She's like, "Don't touch me!" And he's just sort of like, "Oh, okay, I'll just be over here then." It's just like, he's okay with this. He's okay because he's nice and he wants to help someone out.
Well, there's so much exposition to his character that he doesn't say that's just given by newspaper clippings, that he's clipped out all of these like exorcism and aliens have landed and all of these things that are meant to evoke that he is open to crazy stories.
Is that what that's
writes
supposed
crazy
to be?
stories. Hey, Patrick too, Doppelgänger. I'm back up, baby.
I thought it was just, a really lazy attempt at, quirky decor.
Both. It's both.
Yeah, I took it as both as well. That he's a guy who is open to anything like this. Yeah.
Yes.
So he's open to having sex with a woman who denies that they had sex the next day.
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
But she immediately turns to him and says, I have a doppelganger, okay?
Yeah. As you do.
And again, he's just like, blink, blink. Yeah.
If you counted the minutes he spends in this movie with his mouth open, it would be almost all the minutes in this nearly 2-hour film.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
his entire, like, if he had any direction in the script at all, it was Patrick Blinks.
It is that white guy blinking gift.
Yes,
the movie.
That is how he reacts to everything. You're absolutely right.
And I get it, because everywhere you look is another piece of insane nonsense. We briefly touched on the horrid hair in this movie. Can we talk about how Drew Barrymore's dye job obviously colored
I don't
portions?
think we've mentioned her character name once because we don't remember. What is it?
It's Holly.
Thank you.
Gooding.
There we go. You go. Breakfast at Tiffany's again.
In one scene, she's wearing a robe that has her initials like Laverne on, like stitched on the collar. But I think she's actually, in all honesty, I think she is wearing the wig that she wore to play Amy Fisher, because this came out roughly around the same time, and she has a lot of the same mannerisms in it, like the playing with the hair, the biting the lip, the cocked eyebrow. It's like, this is like, I guess this is from her toolbox of seducing,
men 40 years older than she.
Yeah, I guess this is her arsenal of flirting. But yeah, she's very, and she was terrible in that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think she just basically left the set of, the Amy Fisher story and went directly to the set of this movie without changing a thing.
But so she does say, and I was still awake for this, that she has a doppelganger. Yes. I have a doppelganger. And then he blinks, but doesn't really offer, that I recall in that moment, to help her. Are you in danger?
No, she asks for rides. She asks for help, but he never goes, hey,
right.
How can I help you
we
in this
deal
situation?
with this together?
I don't, it's okay if we can sleep together, not sleep together. But, what's most important is that I want you to be okay. Like, none of that fucking happens. He just blinks. And she goes, hey, tomorrow, you and me, we're going to the fanciest psychiatric facility you've ever fucking seen. Now, this is
so fancy. There's only one patient in it.
They escort some old people around because, of course, this movie is full of fucking extras. When they're walking through the hallway of that psychiatric facility, like, the main actors have to turn to the side. There are so many people walking through.
Did you notice who played the construction worker?
Yeah, Danny Trejo.
Yes,
Danny Trejo.
And he gets kneed in the balls.
And then in another later scene, we have Sean Whalen, the Aaron Burr guy. He showed up as we're just gonna check the gas.
Yeah.
And of course, we realize later this is actually, I'm jumping way ahead here, this is actually her psychiatrist wearing a number of startlingly good disguises.
Yeah, that I didn't see coming.
I did not see a happy birthday to me / Mission Impossible in the middle of this movie. And I'm figuring, oh, that's the crazy ending that I won't believe. But wait, there's more.
I still did not believe it.
It turns out her brother Fred has been accused of killing their father, who may or may not be alive. Turns out he is not. He's just being once again portrayed as alive by Dennis Christopher with a mask on. And apparently Dennis Christopher can also change.
Are you talking about the guy with the crazy accent right now? Or no?
No, that's another character
another
that he is
Yes.
that he is pretending to be. No, this is he has like the big
cop.
scar down his face. He looks like an Indiana Jones villain.
Yes.
Part of this movie takes place in Suspiria. All of a sudden it is transported to Germany and a dance school, and everything is red and green and pink.
So much red gel put on the light, and then green gel, and then stop, go. There's a lot of. I feel like they were trying to tell us.
Never has a movie tried
terrible.
so hard to yank atmosphere from a clearly superior effort. I mean, does Suspiria make as much sense as Doppelgänger? Yes, but that's nightmare logic where witches occur. This is just like, the apartment complex, which is like a Melrose Place on a budget. Like, instead of a pool where someone can drown or get murdered, it's just an old lady with pigeons.
Yeah.
So everywhere in this complex are these massive lights with red, green, blue, and pink gels that somehow transport themselves inside of closed structures. That scene with the cop in Dick Fingers that turns out to be Dennis Christopher with a Mission Impossible mask on, that he keeps all the masks and the costumes on the same mannequin. Very fastidious. So that he can, know which character he's slipping into. There is what feels like 20-minute scene with this cop where he goes, she killed her mom and everyone saw her go into the building, but then she had an alibi, but I don't buy it because I think the psychiatrist is in on it. She's guilty. And if you stick around, you're going to end up dead and guilty too. And this goes nowhere. Nowhere. Like, eventually she is arrested for murdering her brother. But this cop is nowhere to be found.
He's not. No. You're
assaulting with a knife in his chest a dozen times.
She stabs him in the chest roughly 7 or 8 times. And then later, well, he's okay. She didn't hit any arteries.
She didn't hit any arteries. She hit everything fucking else.
He looks like this poor actor who, God bless, he doesn't have any lines except, hey, no. He looks like he was caught in a ketchup factory explosion afterwards. But he's all right. She didn't hit any arteries.
He shows up at the end of the movie for about half a minute. He's in when they're burying something. The dream sequence. It's a dream. It turns out to be a dream.
When she shows up in like the Fredericks of Hollywood like see-through dress.
Oh
because this has to end on the classiest of notes.
Well, it does. It ends on a very classy note. She pushes the music box over and it crashes on the ground. And
it crashes with a noise.
The fuck is that supposed to? What does that mean? This is the ending I don't believe, Gina. What does that ending mean?
I think my favorite part about it is how it's a music box, but it makes a sound like someone being thrown through a plate glass window.
Well, it's slowed down for effect. There's practically a Wilhelm scream in the middle of it.
We're still kind of I don't know how to explain what this movie's about.
Yeah, how do we get past the doppelganger part, and then how it turned out, the turn that it makes, because the turn is beyond the Dennis Christopher thing.
Yeah,
right. Suddenly she sheds her human form.
Well, he tries to explain it as that she has multiple personality disorder, which of course that was, again,
that he's convinced her that she has multiple personality disorder.
This is another shameful thing to look back on in movies that involve characters supposedly having multiple personality disorders, and they have the good side and the bad side, and thank God we don't really, M. Night Shyamalan aside, we don't really do that much anymore, which is a good thing. But he has convinced her that she has multiple personalities. She thinks she has a literal separate person who does these things separate of her. It's neither of those things, as it turns out.
Right.
No.
So you're set up.
It's the fucking thing.
It's the thing.
It turns into the thing. And I'm watching it. I'm like, literally my mouth is hanging open. Like, what in God's name is happening?
And
in this movie?
she went to some like Lee Strasberg Institute class on Melrose
to tell her
Avenue
how
to learn how
jiggle back and forth.
jiggle and gutturally groan.
I was gonna say, questionably moan and groan. Yeah,
guttural.
The transformation. First of all, she starts out on a couch, which she is, and she's a tiny woman. Too large for the couch.
She's got her arms up. She's got her arms up like she's tied up, but they forgot to tie her up.
Yes.
At one point, she appears to be manacled, but is not, as if the psychiatrist can convince her she's tied, but not.
Maybe.
Well, that's some serious mind control.
And then she starts to convulse. Then she gets moist. Then all of a sudden, she goes to her Vaseline stage. Yes. Then she begins to bleed profusely, and her skirt wraps into her body.
So much blood.
Much blood.
Then she goes into her pupa stage.
Yes. Then it becomes society. She starts to self-shunt.
Yeah.
She twists in a thing-like fashion up until the point she becomes
writhing and beginning. She's very hungry caterpillar.
She's very hungry caterpillar. She's hungry for vengeance.
Yes.
And she twists herself into a worm.
Yeah, a worm.
A worm with teeth.
It's a larva.
Yes. Then the larva, and you're like, oh, this has become a monster movie. How interesting that this movie did not have the courage of its convictions to just be a dirty picture.
Yeah, no.
And have it be a psychiatrist who's like, I fooled you. Now I'm going to murder you and blame it on her. And I'm going to have her as a psychiatry unit.
Everyone
slave.
does that. Hacks. You need to do something else.
Yes.
An alien.
She needs to be an alien.
Yes.
We learn. Oh, now, wait a second. Before we do this, we have to talk about how we deal with the doppelganger and how does Patrick learn this? He goes to an information source we've all trusted for generations. Someone who owns a sex phone number.
A sex line.
A sex line, but multiple sex lines. Mm-hmm. She's like the secretary.
I was asleep. Tell me more.
You made the right choice. This is Sally Kellerman?
Sally Kellerman in her finest role.
Who again, like Dennis Christopher, seems keenly aware of what kind of movie she's in. So bless her for that. She looks like she's about to start laughing in the middle of saying her dialogue. But yeah, I don't know why she has to be a phone sex operator or what that has to do with anything, other than that there's a hilarious scene of an old lady talking dirty to someone, because that's that's never not funny.
No.
So she explains what a doppelganger is, because apparently Patrick does not know how books work.
I do too. Oh, you're talking about the character.
He does not have access to a library, presumably.
In Los Angeles, a library? All right.
This was 93, so I would think a writer would probably have access to a nascent internet to be able to look up what a doppelganger is. But no, he has to go to Sister Jan, whatever her name was.
Yes.
The ex-nun turned phone sex operator. Why is she an ex-nun turned phone sex operator? It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with the plot at all.
Did she have a doppelganger? We're never told. Did she have a
character-
friend who was? No one says, but
She's in
she
it-
opines.
She is in this movie for about 45 seconds. That is her entire contribution is explaining to Patrick what the audience already knows, and that is what a doppelganger is.
But they don't know it's a giant worm thing that is actually Drew
you-
Barrymore's two people who are unformed when they're separated from each other.
Because that's not what a doppelganger is. The movie itself does not know what a doppelganger is. A doppelganger is a ghost. And I mean, if you had told me, I actually went into this thinking that it was all some sort of plan with the brother.
Yes, I assumed the brother was total, because it looks like the brother is wearing her New York costume.
Yeah, if you had told me that it was the brother going around dressed up like her, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I've seen that in movies before.
Yes.
I want to say there was that one with Bruce Willis, Color of Night, I think it was.
Oh, Color of Night.
Yeah, where that was essentially the same plot. If you had told me that was what was going to happen, I'd be like, yeah, right. This movie still sucks, but I mean that plot makes some rudimentary sense.
Yes, unlike the larva worm.
What happens here? I don't even know. I don't even know from whose bong this idea emerged.
So the worm begins some sort of splitting.
Mm-hmm.
Splitting.
Yeah.
It sort of looks like a skinned alien from Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, Spielberg knew, if I show these stick aliens on camera for a really long time, very well lit, they'll look dumb. But the director here is like, I'm going in a different direction.
I've got this jumbo jar of Vaseline. I'm going to smear it all over everything.
Yes, they dip it in
These
goo.
were expensive, more than all of the hair and wigs together.
We didn't it wasn't just one. We had to make two of them because as soon as they're separate entities, one knocks the other out and then goes after Dennis Christopher. Grabs him by the belt while he's yelling, "Whoa!" Never runs, just screams, picks him up by the belt and throws him through a stained glass window.
Yes.
And you're like, yay? Am I supposed to be celebrating? Am I supposed to be sad? I don't know what emotion to feel because no emotions could possibly encompass Doppelganger. And you're thinking, is this the ending? That's the ending I'm not supposed to believe. No, wait. No. This movie has more endings. So evil doppelganger or angry doppelganger looks at Patrick and motions like, I'm going to grab you by the belt and I'm going to throw you through a different window because that's what I do. That's my thing. And then they look at one another. The music doesn't change.
No.
It's still murder music.
Yeah.
And they stare at one another. The face of this doppelganger not moving at all. Tendrils of goo just hanging from its mouth.
Yeah, but he gets her. He gets it.
There's a thing like, I won't run, but you freak me out.
Right.
And then doppelganger goes, you know what? You're good people. Goes back over.
I really wanted to nod like that Robert Redford gif and then just turning and walking away.
Oh, my kingdom for a gif of doppelganger nodding. I would use that so often. And then goes back and begins the complex, time-consuming, and lengthy process of recombining itself. And then the same sequence of images that we saw before, we now get again.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a direct thing, dual face ripoff sequence in there. And then all of a sudden, she reemerges, dress intact, because apparently her dress is part of her body.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
And she wakes up and like, oh, Yay! And is this the ending I'm not supposed to? No, there's more. So then we have
she goes on the warpath for him, right? Doesn't she?
No.
Well, no, they had the funeral.
No,
they had the funeral, which looks like it was filmed on the set of a Prince video. There's like just doves flying around and all. She's got this like
that's right, where he's
got this enormous family mausoleum.
The police do come into the house, and all of a sudden it appears as if
and we assume she died.
Holly is bleeding, and so we assume that she has died. Cut to funeral scene. And Guns N' Roses is playing in the background. Doves are flying in slow motion. Duffy is pecking at bread with with a groupie that he likes that week. And it's so sad. Brother appears to be alive. Mm-hmm. Ellie is there, her hair unchanged. Because how could it? They all walk out, and then, as we noted before, in walks Holly wearing that can't even be called a dress. You would never walk outside.
It's lingerie.
It is lingerie.
You can see everything.
And the highest of high-waisted G-string panties. Literally one step above becoming suspenders. And they have a passionate embrace.
Passionate.
Kiss.
Put it in quotes. Passionate.
As passionate as these two people who are unsure what love and physical affection mean. Certainly not on camera. They don't want to portray it. They'd rather the audience fill in the blanks. And then all of a sudden he has flashes. Oh, there's that crazy thing creature she becomes. And he wakes up in a hospital room. Not his own, because he has received many injuries. No, he's in a chair. And lo and behold, there's Holly. She's in a hospital bed.
Still with her makeup on.
Still a lot of makeup. Everyone has kabuki makeup on.
Yes.
There's one step away from no theater happening in this. And then she's like, I don't even remember what this part was, but there's some other ending. Before
I think he dreams that she stabs him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's where.
That's where.
He goes after. She goes after him.
Yeah.
The prop knife. What I really wanted, I wanted so bad. I think it really just would have been the cherry on the sundae if like the movie ended with a title card that says 6 months later. And he's sitting at a desk at a typewriter typing, and then he goes and says Doppelgänger by Patrick Highsmith.
There you go.
And then he pulls it out, puts it on a pile of paper, done and done. And then she comes up and kisses him on the head.
Yes.
I can't wait to read it.
And then they throw it up in the air and it freezes. Stephen J. Cannell Productions.
Missed opportunity.
Just in The Great Gatsby when Tobey Maguire's actively writing the story.
Yes.
That puts in great.
Oh man.
I remember saying to you while watching this, she must of course know in her current state in 2019 that Doppelgänger is a piece of shit. She has to understand
I would assume,
that. I think. Because she
I
is
can't
a
imagine
capable actress.
I can't imagine she looks back on this period with any sort of, fondness.
Yeah.
How could you? I mean,
except for the boobs, because, they were good. So she might, it reminds me, despite this creepy 17-year-old part, right. It reminds me of our friend who is an actress and was in Jeremy Kasten's movies, who has been a guest on the show, horror film director. And she will say, I don't regret being naked when I was young, I think 20, for a second, because that's the best my boobs ever looked. Fantastic. And I get to look at them whenever I want. It's a good point. So, yes. She may have some fondness there. Yeah. But other than that.
Yes. I believe her breasts could fly because they were defying gravity.
They were very bouncy.
The only other thing now that we've reversed track to the dude scene, we didn't really talk about how it takes place because she's taking a shower, which all of a sudden becomes a blood shower, which I recently saw in the 1979 Australian vampires have a very complex bureaucracy horror film called The Thirst. And how many times have we seen people take showers where the shower turns into blood? And I want to say
so many times.
A billion times?
Yeah, it's definitely a well-used trope. And it's total erotic thriller showering where she looks like she's actively orgasming just in the shower. She's just moaning and sighing and somehow she is moaning and sighing, and there's also additional moaning and sighing on the soundtrack. It's just like, okay, who else is in that bathroom with her?
I looked up movies where water turns to blood. Death by Temptation, The Thirst, the original Death Ship, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge.
Oh, of course, yes.
Doppelganger, Natural Born Killers. You just reviewed that for the Spool or your own website. It happens a lot. Amityville 2, The Possession. Another movie we've covered. Horror Hospital, Ghost House, Deadline, Neighboring Sounds. Hey, Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2. It happens as well.
There's a movie called Neighboring Sounds.
Neighboring Sounds. Friday the 13th, Jason Takes Manhattan. She has the dream sequence.
Oh, right.
Right. Holy an Angel Heart. Jesus Christ. That's a lot of movies where people take showers and it becomes blood. That's a shit ton of stuff. So Gina, would you recommend people watch Doppelgänger?
If you can make heads or tails of what actually happens in this movie, I would be happy to hear your explanation of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would say that the ending is just so cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs weird that it almost makes the journey worthwhile, but you really have to get through awful characters played by actors who I've seen do better stuff. Like Leslie Hope, who plays Ellie, is probably best known for being on 24, and she was fine in that. Here she's dreadful. She's again, her character serves no purpose but to be, to fire off these kind of really unpleasant wisecracks, and she's really mean to him in a way that, like, okay, I do not buy that these people, I definitely don't buy these people were ex-lovers or whatever. I don't buy that they're writing partners. I definitely don't buy that they're friends, because 90% of what she says to him, she's insulting him. I mean, I guess maybe she might have been set up as, well, maybe she's going to get killed at some point, because you feel like she's going to. Because there's this, after Drew Barrymore's character has been arrested for murder, and the friend thinks that she did it. She doesn't buy this doppelganger thing for an instant. Patrick is like, oh, by the way, can she just stay here for a little while? It's just like,
bring her back.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, that she's going to be killed next, but she isn't. If an entire character could be a red herring, then that's what she is. And then she's got this other guy who she's dating who serves even less of a purpose.
It took me the entire movie to figure out that was Peter Dobson from The Frighteners. The guy who's the terrible husband. He always plays an asshole. He plays the exact same character he played in this. Just this kind of like hyper aggressive asshole. And his character has even less of a purpose in this movie. He's just kind of, again, I think these are supposed to be comic relief in a movie that did not warrant comic relief. Nothing is intentionally funny in this entire movie. Becky, would you recommend people fire up their HBO Go machine and watch?
Is that where it is right now?
That's where it is right now. Would you watch it on?
I would, but there are some caveats.
Okay.
So you should watch this movie if you are coming off a bad day at work, where you begin to question your existence and purpose, and be willing to just be washed away. So that's important. That's important.
Washed away in a flood of goo.
Mhm.
Okay.
See, I was gonna say, when you're questioning your purpose, it'll make you feel better because then you can say, "Hey, at least I didn't make Doppelgänger."
Exactly. And then B, it's important to get high. C, it's important to fall asleep 45 minutes in. Very crucial. Because again, I don't think I missed anything. And then wake up for the last 15 minutes so you see all 6 endings.
Yes. That is the perfect way to watch this.
I mean,
I
there
agree
you go.
with you entirely.
So go for it.
You have to be at the end of your rope.
Yes.
2, you have to be high. 3, you need to be in your bed so that when you do fall asleep after the endless, uncut scenes of people talking in an apartment in Hollywood that never fucking end, when that sends you into nighty-night sleepy time, and then you wake up when the soundtrack just starts having a heart attack, once they reach the house, and then just watch the rest of it, that's all you need to see. Yeah. You don't need to see any of the second act of this movie because it doesn't fucking matter. Not one bit. And if you can make it through the first act, you can make it through the third. So yeah, that's as far as I go. This was a wild journey. Like that end sequence is crazy and worth examination. But the rest
it's like
of it,
those movies when people go, you never saw that coming, but it still was like, oh, but that was so clever. Because if you really think about it, A plus B plus C plus D equals this awesome twist.
Yeah.
This, you never saw that coming because
no one would ever see it coming.
No one
would
ever saw it coming.
Yeah, this feels like we don't know how to end this movie.
Yeah.
So, let's just spitball some ideas. And, this was the craziest thing that anybody could come up with.
And then they came up with 4 other crazy fucking things where it could end. It's just...
Yeah, it's unfortunate that it's 25% that and 75% these 2 personality-free duds just trying to work out their problems so they can fall in love and have a normal relationship.
Just loudly breathing oxygen through their mouth.
Yeah, just standing there, both of them acting and looking like they just suffered massive head injuries.
Just all of them waiting to hear for their turn to talk, but never listening to one another. Oh, it's just interminable. It really, really is. The wild parts are wild, and the mild parts are... mild would be too spicy of a designation.
Put them out during a party. Where you
don't have to pay attention
and come back. You get your chips, you get your drink, you get your smoke. You just kind of go back and forth. It's like, oh nope, these 2 are still talking. Let me just walk back out again.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wait, now she's turning into a larva. Okay, maybe I'll sit and watch the rest of it.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the rest of it is only about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Once you enter the mansion, that's when you need to start paying attention. Anything before that, who fucking cares? Because in the end, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter that her dad may or may not be alive. The cop guy who yanks Patrick into his apartment and has a 12-minute interminable scene lit by one single pink light.
That
doesn't matter for shit.
It just slaps him around, which I thought was funny.
That he became my favorite character only because he got to slap him around. I'm like, I like the cut of that guy's jib. I hate that accent, but this is insane. So yeah, it's a qualified recommend. Very qualified.
With caveats.
It's a lot of caveats.
Yes.
Just when you've reached your lowest moment.
We gave you the circumstances, which the most optimal circumstances to watch it under. If you choose not to do that, don't blame us.
Yeah, we told you the conditions.
We
if
could
you
not
abide by them or not.
We could not walk you through this anymore if we just showed up at your house and just told you, okay, turn it off. All right, skip ahead. All right, now you can stop here. Short of actually giving you the time break in which you can turn this movie off and turn it back on. We could not make this any clearer to you when you should watch this and when you should not.
Yeah. So that just about does it. We thank our patrons very much.
How many people were killed in the kill by kill world? Is it just the 2?
We got the knife death at the front. And then
Dennis Christopher.
Yeah, because the brother is alive. Yeah.
And for as far as choose your own death venture, it's do you want to be knifed to death by your daughter or thrown through a stained glass window? And honestly, we don't know whether or not he died.
Oh, of course he died. He got impaled on a fence.
Oh, that's right. He got impaled on a fence.
They show him do the big death.
Yeah.
He does a really great. Oh no! When he gets by the thing monster, which is great.
And that just about does it. So for myself and for Gina and for Becky, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.